Hey, good morning. I'm going to give people just a couple more minutes to see if anybody else is going to join us on this one, and then we'll start getting in a review and make sure you don't have any questions before you knock out today's unit quiz. And I'll also put today your, as soon as we probably finish, I'll go in and start putting in your chapter 15 stuff in the Google Classroom and make sure that I've got your new unit set up and ready to rock and roll. Justin, have you got any questions for me or anything before we get started?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. If I don't see anybody hop on here in another couple of seconds, we'll just go ahead and get started, and I'll just, I guess, catch them up if anybody else does end up joining. But just a reminder of the schedule for the rest of this week. Unit quiz today. Make sure that you get your unit packet turned in tomorrow. And then we'll do a little bit of an intro to our next unit tomorrow very quickly. And I'll just post a video of me because I know we don't usually Zoom on Thursday, or tomorrow's Friday. Don't usually Zoom on Fridays, but I might post a quick video of me just kind of introing us into our next units. And then that's what we'll cover next week. So next week we'll make it through our unit on progressives, which is chapter 15. And then we'll do our next, excuse me, we'll do our next unit combo test. I think next Thursday is what I've got put on y'all's calendar. So that's just a couple things that are coming up. Don't forget, next week is the last of the 6 weeks. And we're, I hope I'm saying this right. I think we're supposed to find out next Tuesday whether or not we will be coming back AB if you chose to come back AB. So anyway, still waiting on that news. And then if we do end up coming back AB, things will probably be set up a little bit differently depending on what that ends up looking like, whether you're virtual or whether you come back in class. Okay, all right, I think I've given everybody long enough, so let's just do a quick review. Like I said, if you have questions of something or you want me to go back over something, just let me know. And I'll make sure that you don't have any questions. Okay. I do have just a couple of review questions on there from what we covered last week. And again, there is a reason for the madness. You have a midterm. I've mentioned it a few times. You have a midterm that's going to be coming up in just a few more weeks that will cover everything that we've covered from Wild West all the way up. We're going to stop about the 1920s to do your midterm. So I want to make sure that as we go, I kind of sprinkle in those review questions. And I did throw a couple of review questions on you with today's quiz, which is only 15 questions, multiple choice, couple of true false. So really short, quick, and to the point. So a couple of things. You do need to make sure that you know some presidents. We've only talked about 2 specifically, and those are the 2 that are going to be on your quiz for today. Talking about President McKinley. It's President McKinley that is going to be in office for 2 terms. He comes in 1892. 4 years later, 1896, he runs for a 2nd term and gets reelected. He's the guy that's being backed by all those millionaires and billionaires. He's the one that's being backed by Carnegie and Vanderbilt and Rockefeller and JP Morgan. And they're financing his campaign because they know that he's not going to mess with big business. And that's kind of what they want. They want to make sure that they are continuing to make money and stay millionaires and billionaires. So he's the guy that's going to get us into a lot of our imperialist decisions. And that's what you need to make sure that you remember. A couple of definitions. Isolationism, which is the idea of staying out of foreign affairs. And then imperialism is the idea of larger nations taking over smaller ones. And if the United States wants to be a world power, which is what this whole unit has been about, if we want to be a world power, then we need to be able to compete and also have our own colonies and territories, which is why we make a really big purchase. 1867, we make a really big purchase. We end up purchasing Alaska. And then Hawaii, we add in Hawaii as well. We go to Hawaii because we are looking for other land to use and grow crops like sugarcane, and we're renting that land. Our farmers start to complain that the natives are messing with their crops and their land. The U.S. ends up bringing in the military. We pretty much put the whole island on military lockdown, and then we get the idea to annex all of Hawaii. We decide that we're just going to take them in as a territory, and we keep them as a territory until 1959, when we make them the 50th state of the United States. And then another big part of this is the Spanish-American War. So the Spanish-American War is two things, really. One, it's a way for us to show our strength as an up-and-coming world power, and two, it's a way for us to test our abilities. It's a way for us to test our Navy and our Army, which is a good way for us to know what we need to work on, especially as we get ready to talk about World War I. We know that Theodore Roosevelt, who is going to be not just a future president, but he's going to be the vice president of William McKinley during his second term in office. We know that Roosevelt actually goes and volunteers to fight during the Spanish-American War. 90 days. 90 days, we're in, we're out, we win, and then in the Treaty of Paris, we ask for territory. We get Puerto Rico, we get Guam, we purchase for $20 million, we purchase the Philippines. Cuba gets its independence, which is actually part of the Teller Amendment. The Teller Amendment says that Cuba gets its independence and will kind of watch over them as a friend and ally. Let's see, there was something else I was going to talk about, and now I've lost my train of thought. Now I don't remember what it was. Okay, sorry. So anyway, William McKinley, presidents. Going back to the Spanish-American War, a couple of things really quick, okay? The whole thing is because Spain, we've heard that the Spanish are harassing the Cubans, and the Cubans want independence. And so because we do have sugarcane plantations and we have businesses in Cuba, we send down the USS Maine to sit in Havana Harbor. The USS Maine ends up exploding. We blame the Spanish. It wasn't the Spanish, but that's who we blame. American blood has been shed. Now it is officially time to declare war. So our battle cry is "Remember the Maine." You should remember something similar to that, right? Remember the Alamo was our battle cry during the Mexican-American War. But anyway, so we have a new battle cry. We have a new foreign policy. We're now an imperialist nation. We have the open door policy, which is actually what your bell ringer was on today, to where we open up the trade doors with China. All right, more resources, more business opportunities. So that's the open door policy. And let's go back through to make sure you know what we get as our territory from the Treaty of Paris. Guam, Puerto Rico, and then we purchased the Philippines, okay? Let's see. Last couple of things. I just want to make sure last couple of things. One thing, a fun fact, because I like to occasionally throw some fun facts on your quizzes. A fun fact that we talk about is the fact that Theodore Roosevelt, again, William McKinley dies, Roosevelt becomes president, and Roosevelt will be one of several U.S. presidents that actually get a Nobel Peace Prize. for being an arbitrator or a negotiator during the Russo-Japanese War. The Japanese are trying to take over Manchuria and other parts of China again because they're looking for resources. Russia jumps in and tries to stop them, and that starts the Russo-Japanese War. Roosevelt comes in, acts as a mediator, and talks, to both sides to help end the war. So that's pretty awesome. He's kind of a very pushy, aggressive guy, and a pretty large guy too. So I'm sure he was probably very intimidating to talk with and be around. So he gets a Nobel Peace Prize for that. Another fun fact is that William Taft, who will be president after Roosevelt, is actually sent to be the governor of the Philippines for a while after we purchased the Philippines. We end up fighting the Filipinos for about 3 years because they just want to be left alone. They do want their independence. And we're like, no, we want to make sure that you have a railroad and, larger businesses and an education, but it's our opinion of what they need, not so much what they themselves want. So it's a little frustrating in that aspect. So, anyway, that's that in a nutshell is kind of what I throw at you in your quiz with a couple of little review questions. One review question is going back to segregation. Remember, it was Plessy versus Ferguson, the separate but equal, to where we start and make segregation legal, separating the races. We try and keep African American males from voting by establishing poll taxes, grandfather clause, and literacy tests. I think those are the only review questions that I throw at you. Is just that last section we covered last week. Everything else is all imperialism. So today's quiz, it really is short and sweet, and it is short and sweet because I know we're getting ready to dive into our next big units on progressives. So anything that I talked about that you want me to go back over? Because we got plenty of time if there's something that you want me to talk about again. Was that a yes or a no?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. So like I said, that's all it is, making sure you know what imperialism is. Okay. Larger nation taking over weaker ones. Make sure you know the Spanish-American War. Remember the Maine. The territories that we got and acquired. Cuba gets its independence. Making sure that you know presidents, McKinley, and then Theodore Roosevelt. Open door policy with China. That's the big stuff. I mean, we hit it pretty fast, but like I said, it shouldn't take you but a couple minutes on your quiz. You'll be done. You can move on for today. So if you're good, you don't want me to go over anything else, then we'll call today, and then you go knock out your quiz. Okay. All right. Have a good one. Let me know if any problems pop up. But other than that, go knock out your quiz and have a good rest of your Thursday, okay?
Okay.
All right, bye.